Hello YouTube. We're in a 2005 Chevy Malibu 6-cylinder. I think this is the LS, and it has some engine codes. So the check engine light is on right there. So we're going to see what we can do about it. So I'm going to go check and see what the engine code is. So let's plug our module in, our scanner. Should be right there. Phew. Getting too old for this. Okay. Enter. DC1. Fault number 1 is a P0401, and it's 1 of 1. Okay, so P401, that is the EGR valve, which is exhaust gas recirculation. So the EGR valve looks something, oops, the EGR valve looks something like this. So it's exhaust gas recirculation, and this part runs about maybe $80, anywhere up to, like, you know, $150, all depending on where you get it. So it has a connector at the top. You have 2 bolts right here, and there's also a gasket that goes around it. And on this side you have 1 bolt which connects back to the exhaust. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this off of the car first, and then we're going to check the port that runs from this side here down into the intake and make sure that that's open, because at first you want to check the easiest things without, you know, resorting to putting in a part. And what we found is that you can see where the port will get clogged up with carbon or oil or something like that, and next thing you know, it's giving you fault codes. So sometimes all you have to do is just get something and open up that port, you know, rod it through, you know, kind of like a pipe cleaner, and just clean it out real good, make sure it has flow, and sometimes that'll actually solve the whole issue, and then your EGR valve will work again. So once we get under the engine, I'll show you that, where it is, where it's located, and then, you know, like I said, you try to clear that out first, and then if that does not work, then you replace the part. So I've already tried to clean that out yesterday, and it did not help. So that's why I had to go and get the part. So we're going to replace the part today, but I'll show you where that port is. Okay, well, here we go. I'm going to open up the engine and start getting everything cleared away, pulling off the intake, and start getting the old EGR valve loosened up so we can just replace it. All right, I'll be back in a second. All right, here's our engine bay. So right here is the EGR valve. So you can see there's a connector on the top, and then there's the body for it right down there. So there's two bolts, one this way and one on that side, and then there's that here's the exhaust tube right there. So that tube goes back into the exhaust, and there's one bolt there. So this is the piece that we're going to have to take off. Now, this one here, there's a hole. This is your intake. There's a hole that goes down through here and then all the way over to that. So that's the one that we tried to rot out and clean it up and make sure it was clear. And it stopped the code for a while, but then the code came back. So we're going to pull this intake tube off of here. Let's see. Should pull this out of here. Pull off the intake. We could just put the EGR valve on. So let's try that. Let's just try the EGR valve. Well, I'll take this off here. That's a 5/16 nut wrench or a flathead screwdriver, and then we've got this here to loosen up. It mounts to hold that, and then sometimes you have to take it off of that side too. You have to take this off of here just to loosen everything up and pop it out. But that's your intake. So we cleared out the butterfly and everything there yesterday. The EGR is right here. So that's a really long port that goes all the way over to here. I wonder if I cleared that out all the rest of the way. We'll have to test that out too. But I'm going to take off this intake tube, and I'll take off the EGR valve. So all the other tools that we're going to need is a 10mm socket, and I got a 10mm box and open end wrench just in case. So here we go. Wow, these engineers really get this stuff in here tight. I might need a, there we go, a longer extension. You got tubes all running in the way. And then we get a little bit longer of an extension. All right, so that one can reach there. Yeah, I'll forget that. Okay, I'll put the multi-swivel on. Okay, the Blue Jays want some peanuts. Sorry, Blue Jays, working at the moment. Okay. So we've got the tube that goes to the exhaust. We've got that already taken off and put to the side. So we get the connector off. We just got these two bolts here, and we'll see if we can get this past this other tube, because let me tell you, they've got this stuff all crammed in here. I wonder. I just need a little bit more viewing room. Let me see if I can take this off of here. That's because I can't see the actual thing I'm working on. Probably what's going to happen is I'll drop that bolt or nut. All right, let's see. All right, so far, I don't know if you can see that, but we've got that. There's one bolt on for that, and it goes on the back side over here. We got this one bolt here taken out, and this is the one that I can't see, but there's a bolt down there that I'm trying to get out. So, just a little bit of a pain in the back side to try to get to. Oops, almost. So when I called up and got a price for this at the shop, their price was to start at $125, and then depending on whatever else, parts and labor, it would go up from the 125. So imagine if it was, and I actually got this part, they're listed at anywhere from $80, like, well, 72 at the cheapest, all the way up to 150. So so if you got it even for 70 bucks, 125 and 70, you're already at almost $200 right there, not to count the shop time, which is usually what, $50 an hour on average. It's like 250. But yay, got it off. All right. Sometimes it's just the point of it. I hate having to pay that much money for something I can do myself. Clean off that gasket surface. Okay. So this is what it looks like. Here's the gasket surface right there. There's the part that goes back into the exhaust. That's why they call it exhaust gas recirculation. It takes excess gas from here, puts it through that little emissions device, and then it burns it back up in the exhaust. So for monitoring stuff. But yeah, there's a plate right there. Okay, now the hole, it's on the other side of this. I actually had to take this piece off, this one here, and there's 3 bolts underneath here. And then I could slide this forward, and then you would see a pinhole. It was like right at the bottom here, of this side of the, once you take this intake throttle body off of here, there's a little hole at the very bottom, and that thing gets all gummed up because all the oil sits in it. You clean that up and I took a wire and ran it up because there's a hole and it runs up into the inside. So spraying some throttle body cleaner, cleaning this up down here with rags and stuff, and see, it looks pretty good down there now. But there's a little, you know, the hole goes up and into that over there, so I had to clean that out first. So let's take a look at the new part. Hopefully this will line up. So our gasket, or this flange, will just be tilted upwards a little bit. That's all right. It'll work. The other two bolts are fine. Looks like it's the same connector. So we will go with it. Oh, great. Well, I think at least it went all the way through. Okay. Time to take the gloves off because I can't feel what you're doing. Things just get away from you. Okay. Let's just put this down here first. All right, so we ran into a problem. The problem is, you can see where these two line up here to the manifold. Well, you got the tube that goes back to the exhaust is not in the same place. So a little bit off, which would not be a problem if this tube right here that goes back into the exhaust, this tube right here, was not rigid. So I was trying to bend it, it won't bend. Even though it's shrouded, it's got this like tube on the outside, makes it look like it's bendable. It actually is a solid tube. I don't want to kink the tubing, so I'm trying to figure out exactly how this is going to go back on. So one thing I might have to do is maybe I could clean out this old one and we'll see, because it's not an exact fit. So, all right, let's see what we're gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to make a decision, so let me try a few things. I think maybe I'll clean this one out and then see if she still throws the codes. And then I can return this, and then I know next time to get the proper one. This was cheaper, of course, yeah, because that one's not in the same place, but it said exact fit. So never trust them. They always say that. So let's just try to do this. Since I cleaned out the throttle body, let's see if I can just clean this EGR valve and then see if it works. All right, back a little bit. All right, so what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to clean out this EGR valve. So I already sprayed a little bit in here, well, with some throttle body intake cleaner. Sprayed a lot in there on that side, sprayed a lot into this side, washed it out really good as it could. So now what I'm going to try to do is we're going to plug this one connector back in. So what I'm going to try to do is we're going to turn the car on, or turn the key to the first position, and then I'm going to spray up in there so that it can it'll open it up and then help clean it out some more. So we're going to do that on both sides. So I guess this is the top side. Let's start on this one here. All right, go ahead and turn it to the accessory position. Okay. Turn it off. All right, turn it on. Okay, I don't see it moving. Just let that soak in for a little bit. Just move this other stuff out of the way. Do me a favor and try to start it. It's not starting? All right, that's all. That's all.
It turned off on its own.
Yep, yep.
Can I go outside?
Just one more. Soak in for a little bit. All right, turn it to the first click. She's not moving. What I'm looking at is that the valve stem in there. All right, turn it off. She's supposed to move a little bit, but I don't know. All right, you can turn it off. Thank you. So it's not moving. Thank you. Let that dry off for a minute. We'll put it back on, and then what we'll do is we'll take it for a drive, actually head towards the parts store just in case, and then see if it throws a code. If it doesn't, then I'll just drive back. If it does, I'm at the auto store and I can go ahead and buy the correct part that has the exhaust port above the two bolts. All right, time to temporarily put it back together. All right, See you in a little bit. All right, so here, let's clear the code out. So scan, enter, one code, 401, read,
It still got a code.
erase, yes. So that's erasing the code. The thing comes off. All right, so let's see. Rescan, nothing. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, since we clean that off, we're gonna see if that'll stay off. So we're gonna take it for a little ride. We're gonna head towards the auto store, and we'll go ahead and buy the other one and take this other one back, and then we'll drive it all the way home and see if it throws a code. So hopefully it does not, and then we could just, you know, see how long it goes, and then yep, if it comes back, then we know, yeah, let's just go ahead and replace it. So all right, it should take maybe about half an hour, and then we'll see if it throws a code. All right, talk to you in a little bit. Okay, so we took it for a drive, and it service engine light came on again. So let's see what it is. Scanned, enter, fault 401. Okay, so she's gonna need a new EGR valve, so we're gonna go inside and get one. All right, back in a second. Okay, YouTube, we're back. So we got a different part. This one, it lines up where the intake is above these two mounting points, so it's the right one, and they give you a new gasket. It's nice. It's a Grafoil, so it'll seal pretty good. The other one's just cardboard. The other one had the hole down here and I couldn't bend it, so this one should fit right away. So what I'm going to do is, all I have to do is just take this one out, put the new one in. I'm just going to try to do that real quick because it's starting to rain a little bit. I don't know if you can see the rain on the cars, but it's starting to rain a little bit and it's getting a little chilly. So we are just going to get this done. All right. This one here. So this new EGR valve, or the different EGR valve, this one was priced at $162, but I was able to get a 15% online discount, so I got it for like $140 and change. So it's still better than giving the shop $125 plus price of the part plus shop time. So you can see there's the graph well here, and rain's starting to pick up. Oops. Come on, get in there. Get in there, buddy. Okay, we'll tie that up in a second. Yep.
How you doing?
Good.
Are
We're
you
recording.
videoing it?
Yep. Right there.
He's gonna add content to his channel. Thank you, bud.
Yeah, it's a whole lot quicker when you get the right part. So.
Well, they said it was the, you know.
Yeah, I know. It said an exact fit. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, that was backwards.
So.
Were you able to hook it all back up?
Getting in there right now, so. Alright. Time. Okay. She's all back in there. So I think the problem with this part here was when you put the plug in and you turn it to accessory position, I think you're supposed to be able to see the little valve stem in there rise. It didn't move at all. So I'm not sure if that's if it's supposed to or not, but I think it's supposed to. But anyway, there it is. You can turn on the car, take a little ride, and make sure she doesn't come back on. All right. Alright, so the new part is in. The bolt's in place. Oops. You would have thrown an error code with those. There we go. Those are the things I had to take off just so that I could get to the bolts. Alright. Well, I'm going to take a drive. I'll let you know if it's a code or not, if there throws a code or not. So that was a code P0401, EGR valve emissions, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So, all right, see you in a minute. All right, YouTube, this thing still kept on throwing the codes, P0401, EGR. So even with a brand new EGR valve in it. So, the next thing is I really got to check that port that's in the intake manifold. Apparently in these Chevy Malibus that is a problem. So I took it out. Last time I just cleaned it from the intake side. This time I took the whole EGR valve off and started to. Hey YouTube, all right, so I had to clean out that intake port, and that's what it was. It was pretty much gummed up. I went and took a look at some other pointers on the web, on our interweb, and it said it's a common problem with this Chevy Malibu that the port gets clogged up. So let me show you where that port is. All right, so right here is the EGR valve. So I had to take this off here, and in there is a runner that goes all the way to this port right here. So I had to actually use some brushes. I started to use a piece of wire, got the piece of wire through, and then kept on spraying it with all kinds of degreaser, throttle body cleaner, engine brake cleaner, or brake parts cleaner, and finally got it all the way through. And then I used brushes to clean out the whole entire thing all the way down to there. So now it's open. So I think that's it, because the only way that code's going to come back is if it is not getting the proper gas flow from the exhaust back up through here, and it's clogged up, and that little port right there is clogged. So I've got the little brushes and everything. Let me show you what brushes I used. So I used 2 brushes. I used a pretty big one. Oops. Used a pretty big one from the back side. So from the EGR valve side, and kept on just putting it in there, pulling it out, cleaning the brush, put it back in there until it was basically clean. And then I used this little one here, this little brush from the intake side, and same thing, just kept on going out, you know, pushing it up through there, pulling it out, cleaning it off until it, you know, it stopped having all this gunk on it. So that was a good thing. Now, one thing I did have to do is to move this. It's the reservoir for the antifreeze. So it only has 2 clips. It has a clip on this side and a clip on this side here. And it basically comes out. But what you have to watch out is, number 1, don't do it when it's warm. So number 2, yeah, I took this tube off of this port right here, and as soon as I took it off, this started spraying everywhere. So I had to plug that up. And then when I took this off, I made sure to plug this side up here too. So just a word to the wise, that's going to happen. But here's the throttle body intake. You can see you got your butterfly valve here, and it's 2 bolts on the top and 2 bolts on the underside, and then there's 1 more bolt on the underside here. That what happens is it holds this mount onto the throttle body, and you can see it right there. See, so there's 1, 2, so you have to take all of those bolts off and then squeeze this back off of here, and you can see it connects over here, and you just pull that away and you can get that throttle body out of there. But yep, that's a known problem where this thing will gum up and you won't be able to suck any more air in through there. So yep, but what was happening was, you know, you replace the EGR valve and it still had issues. You know, try to clean a little bit, still has issues. Well, you got to clean that port out really well. So okay, so 20-minute job. Usually change the EGR valve, turned into like what, 4 hours, because I had to clean that port out. So all right, well everybody, signing off for now. Appreciate if you'd like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.